Hello, my name is Brian Carroll. I was the 2020 presidential candidate of the American Solidarity Party. And tonight I'm going to be talking to Stephen Hollenberg, who is running for the New Hampshire House of Representatives to represent Hillsborough District 21 in a special election on April the 13th. So Stephen, tell us about yourself.
Thanks for the interview here, Brian. Like you said, my name is Stephen Hollenberg. I live here in Merrimack. I've been here for now 8 years, and I've got a beautiful wife and three excited boys that keep me busy. I currently stay home with them full time. I used to work at a research lab studying heart defects. Specifically, I was working on the heart muscle for left ventricular non-compaction, which is a hereditary disease that a number of people in our country are born with. So we were researching that. But about 2.5 years ago, I felt like my calling at the moment was to actually be home with my boys full time, to raise them and to train them up in the way that I think they should be. And so I quit my job to stay home with them full time. I still work part time as a handyman, but that's my main occupation right now, is just to be home with the boys. Before that, my wife and I served as missionaries. So I've spent a number of years out of the country. I've also worked in various other settings, such as high school as a chemistry teacher. I was also when I was a missionary, I was a teacher as well. I've worked at Home Depot and Starbucks, and I've worked as a teaching assistant at college, both during my bachelor's degree and when I was getting my master's in biochemistry. But yeah, I'm excited to be a candidate for this position, and I'm excited to represent people of Merrimack in New Hampshire.
We have some similar background because when my oldest boy was born, I went ahead and I was the home father for first about 2.5 years until we moved to Central California. And then I have also been a teacher on the mission field. I was in Colombia for 9 years. Where were you?
I was in Papua New Guinea, a little island north of Australia. I actually grew up there. My parents were missionaries as well. I grew up there, and then once I got married, my wife and I went back as well, and hoping to go somewhere again in the future. Not sure when, but hoping to go back someday to the mission field with my kids.
Well, we'll have to talk about that maybe in depth off camera, because several of the students that I taught when I was in Colombia wound up in Papua New Guinea serving there. District 21 sits on the southern border of New Hampshire, just across the line from Massachusetts. How would you describe that district?
This is a very great area to be in. My wife and I, we kind of chose this arbitrarily when we got back from the mission field. We'd never been here before. We were looking for some place around northern Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire to move to. So we just found this place, and we love it. We are, like you said, very close to the Mass border. And so there may be some, we're in commuter distance to Boston, so there may be some influence from Massachusetts and Boston coming up into this part of New Hampshire. But it's not as much as some people think. I remember back in one of the presidential elections, I think it was maybe 2016, watching the election results live on NBC, and forget the anchor's name. He was on there talking about the results from Massachusetts coming in, and he said, or the results from Massachusetts and New Hampshire, and he was like, so it looks like a lot of the northern part of New Hampshire is going red right now, but the southern parts of New Hampshire, like the Boston suburbs, like Merrimack and Nashua, are going blue, and I was like, wait, Boston suburbs, we're not that close to Boston. We're definitely unique. So even though we're close to Massachusetts, we're still fiercely New Hampshire here. Still very much live free or die. Very proud of being strongly independent politically. I think there's something like 25% of all registered voters in New Hampshire are registered independent, something they take great pride in. But it's also a well-desired area, a great place to live. There was some poll a few years ago that showed that this part of the country, southern New Hampshire, is one of the most desirable places to live. People want to move here. And also, I know Nashua, which is our closest neighbor, also at least 3 times recently has been voted the safest city in America for a certain size city. And so this is a great area to be in. It's a great district, and I'm proud to be a Merrimack resident.
Well, due to the COVID, I did not get to travel nearly as much as I had hoped to, and I had hoped very much to get to New Hampshire. We did get 79 write-in votes in New Hampshire last year, and that was without any campaigning. So you're running as an independent, and I assume that's because the party is not registered as an official party there. But how did you get involved with the American Solidarity Party?
So as a quick aside to that, I will be, if I win, I will be listed as independent on the House website, I believe, because like you said, we are not registered party. However, on the ballot, it is listed as American Solidarity Party, not as just independent candidate. I'm not sure really how that works, why they were able to put American Solidarity on the ballot, but not an official, but it will be there. So as far as the American Solidarity Party goes, back in, I believe it was 2015, during all of the crazy campaigning, the primaries for both Republicans and Democrats, I just started to feel very disconnected from both parties. I was very dissatisfied with our choices, especially after the primaries were held and we were stuck between the 2 candidates. I felt neither of them represented my passion for a whole life platform and bringing the most life to more people. And I wasn't satisfied with either candidate. And so I started looking outside of it. I deregistered my party in New Hampshire. I became an independent, which is very easy to do here. I officially registered independent at that time. And then I think that year was my first year to do a write-in for president. I can't exactly even remember who I did. I tried to do a search for all different kinds of candidates, just doing a quick read, try to find somebody who matched. It might have been the Constitution Party. I can't even remember. I didn't know about the American Solidarity Party at the time. And then I continued to be dissatisfied with the political atmosphere in America through the last 4 years. 2020 comes, I'm still not satisfied with either of my choices. Neither of them represents what I believe to be an all-encompassing whole life for everybody type of platform. And so again, I did some research for what party can I find. I actually did a Facebook question to my friends. What party should I vote for? To see what third party should I vote for, to see what people said. I got a number of suggestions on there. I checked out each suggestion. As soon as I found American Solidarity Party, which I believe 2 of my friends suggested to me, I read through the whole platform. As soon as I finished reading it, I went right back immediately and said, become a member. It immediately matched with me. It's the closest party I've found so far to really trying to bring life to people. I've been saying since 2015, 2016 that I want a party. Like I was talking, even if you scroll back through my Facebook back to then, like 2016, I put a question: how do you start your own political party? Because I wanted to create what I was going to call like the life party, which I think I like better now that I found American Solidarity Party a whole life party. I wanted to be like the life party, and my slogan was bring the most life to the most people. And I thought that the American Solidarity Party was the best option I've ever found so far that strives to do that. And so I actually didn't find the American Solidarity Party until election day, November 3rd, 2020. I signed up as a member. I went to the polls and I wrote down your name.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. My story is not quite as dramatic. I managed to find the party in 2016, about 3 or 4 months before the election day. But like you, I only had to read the platform once. I was looking at parties, doing research for third parties, nothing quite fit. And then I saw the American Solidarity Party, and I only had to read the platform once, and I was committed. You describe yourself as whole life. How would you describe what that means?
So, to me, again, I was very saddened a lot by the political atmosphere in our country and the dialogue I see between people that claim to be pro-life and people that seem to be pro-life in many areas, except for in the area that we traditionally consider as pro-life. And there's just this big disconnect between what it means to be pro-life and to be for people. And so to me, being whole life is to really seek the best for everybody, to seek the good for like what I say is to love my neighbor, to use a term from the Bible, to love my neighbor as myself, to find a way to really find the highest and best good for each person around me. And I'm not just about finding the most good for the unborn or for the veterans or for the Republicans or for the Democrats, or for even just American lives. I'm for finding the best good for every person. I believe in having a strong country and having a country that's here and able to help others out. But I also, maybe it's my experience overseas being around other cultures, but to me, to see people that claim pro-life and then to be chanting, build that wall, when they don't even understand the trauma these people go through to travel so far under dire circumstances, spending all their money just for a chance at bringing life to their children. If they stay where they are, they'll die. We don't even know what that's like. And then these same people saying pro-life and then being so strongly anti-refugee that they applaud the president who basically takes our refugee count down to nothing. I've worked with the refugee organizations for years here in southern New Hampshire, helping to resettle new refugees, to work as an English tutor, and to just be with these people that have gone through more than we can ever understand. And to me, being whole life means not just pro-birth, as Democrats like to throw that back at the Republicans. You're not pro-life, you're pro-birth. I'm not pro-birth. I am pro-life from conception to natural death. I want everybody to have the chance to the equal opportunity to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the same opportunity for everybody to bring the most life, liberty, and happiness to everybody, from unborn to the mother who's struggling with the idea of an abortion, to the family who's struggling to pay for their rent, to the veteran on the street, to the police who fear for their life during a social justice rally, for the people in that social justice rally. I want to bring life to all of those people. And to me, that is whole life. Loving my neighbor as myself, bringing the best and highest good for each person in New Hampshire.
Yeah, and I assume that you recognize, as I do, that a position like that is going to meet a lot of resistance, and it's going to have to overcome a variety of hurdles, but it also offers a lot of different uh, facets, places to start working. And so, assuming you were elected, where would you start?
So I want to try to find a way to pull the best, most life-giving policy out of the Republican Party and out of the Democrat Party, and find a common compromise in between, a common ground where we can bring good to everybody. Instead of fighting between the parties, I want to work with them. So there's a few what I consider life-giving policies that have recently been introduced or have failed recently through the House or the Senate, that were bipartisan in their introduction. And so I think a good place to start is to find those bipartisan life-giving policies and work to keep that momentum going for those policies. Examples recently are House Bill 712, which was trying to bring paid family leave, 12 weeks of paid family leave, to every employee in New Hampshire. The way that then they were going to pay for it with a 0.5% pay deduction for every employee. So we're talking pennies. I think for us it was something like $72 a pay period. Oh no, it was less than that. It was like $15 a pay period or something like that. For your minimum wage employee, you're looking at like $1 every 2 weeks that you're missing, almost nothing. And then as a return, you get paid family leave for everybody in New Hampshire, which seems like a very pro-life, even not just pro whole life, but pro anti-abortion. If mothers can take time away from work to take care of their new baby, we see a reduction in abortions. And that HB 712 was introduced by 10 Democrats, but also 2 Republicans and 1 independent. Something like that, minimally bipartisan, but it was there all the same. Or something like there was another bill. I was trying to find it here. So there was one that it was increasing the size of solar panels that can participate in net energy metering. House Bill 1218 was introduced by 5 Democrats and 5 Republicans. And this allowed people to install larger solar panels on their houses to benefit more from the net metering, meaning they can reserve more energy to be used during the winter, so they don't have to continue. Because usually during the winter, people have to switch back to the utilities to pay a bill, but they can kind of bank up energy during the summer and this allowed them to use bigger solar panels. The recent one, HB 1218, was introduced, 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, perfectly bipartisan. It actually, this one actually died in the House, I believe, but there were 2 previous bills that did the same thing. Both of them passed the House, passed the Senate, and were vetoed by the governor. 2 bills passed both houses, vetoed by the governor. So something like that is something that I can support. Something that is bipartisan is a great way to start. There are a few partisan bills that I can also join in that bring life, such as recently introduced. It was an 8 Republican bill, HB 625, is an abortion ban at 24 weeks. Right now, New Hampshire doesn't really have any kind of ban on abortion. We also are one of the few states that we don't do any formal abortion reporting. We have no statistics about it in New Hampshire. We don't know what's going on with abortion in New Hampshire. We really have no numbers. So HB 625 banned at 24 weeks. It did. And another bill recently, HB 622, kind of did the same thing. It prohibited the termination of a viable fetus, which is considered viable usually between 22 to 24 weeks. So kind of the same time frame, around 24 weeks. Both bills gave an exception for a serious risk to the mother's health, and both of them required reporting and some of, and I think one of them at least called for criminal action against the provider who did an abortion. I'm not 100% sold on that part of it, but something like that, a bill, it's not my preferred strategy for reducing abortion, but something like that, it is pro-life. It does make exception for serious risk of the mother. It does increase reporting. I think reporting is one of the first places we should start on that front, just so we know what we're even working with. We don't even know what's going on in New Hampshire as far as that goes. But that's not my preferred way to go after abortion at first. I'd much rather go for the paid family leave, affordable health care, affordable housing, affordable adoption. I'd much rather go for improving our foster care system, helping make sure that everyone's getting a wage they can live on here in New Hampshire. I just want to make sure that we get all these things that attack the cause of abortion rather than the mothers getting the abortions. I want to be by stopping abortion by loving the mothers. So there's some small steps that I can take that are already working their way through the House. There's some that I would continue to push forward, those small steps towards bringing life to New Hampshire.
That's an excellent program. I mentioned that COVID kept me from getting to New Hampshire to campaign, and it's still making everybody's campaigns more difficult simply because we're not having the kind of events that candidates traditionally campaign at. What have you been able to do as part of and it's a special election, so it's a very shortened election cycle to start with, but what have you been able to do?
It's certainly been a very challenging campaign. First off, because I have a lot of experience with campaigns. We don't have a large ASP chapter in New Hampshire, so I'm mostly doing this myself with a little bit of advice from others, trying to figure it out as I go. So that's been tough by itself. But then it was a little bit discouraging, but also helped to strengthen my resolve in my campaign to be required to go collect my signatures starting second week of January. Filed my declaration of intent to run. Both my Republican and Democrat opponents filed their declarations the same week. They both went on the ballot immediately. Because of New Hampshire law, I did not go on the ballot immediately, even though we filed the exact same paperwork. I was required to collect 150 signatures. So we're talking in the middle of January, middle of winter, during a COVID pandemic, going to collect signatures. So there were many 20-degree days. I bundled up my children and we walked out to our neighbors. We went knocking door to door. I have many neighbors, don't want to even open the door. A lot of it elderly voters, especially, they don't want to expose themselves to COVID. I had one man come to the door talking through the glass saying he would love to sign my paper, but he doesn't want to open the door. I have other people who I talked to somebody and she said, oh, my neighbors would be good. Oh, but they won't open the door for you. They don't talk to anybody right now during COVID. So there was a challenge there, not being able to get the signatures, both because of the cold. I felt bad making people open their doors in 20 degrees, but also during COVID, they just were social distancing. I wore a mask, but there was, and I tried to like wipe down my pen with a Lysol wipe between every person. But there were some challenges there. Other things I would love to do that I'm limited, like holding like a town hall. People can come ask questions, going to the library and holding an event just to talk about what is whole life, what is the American Solidarity Party, holding an informational meeting, any kind of gathering at all. There's no like sports games to go to. There's no, even if it was the summer, there would be no parades. There are no parades in the winter. I can't walk in a parade with my signs to campaign. I can't, there's no gatherings at all for me to attend. So it's all online campaigning. It's signs, it's word of mouth. can do door-to-door canvassing, although again, you're going to find the same issue of people not wanting to open their doors. So it's definitely been tough, especially as a first-time campaigner, to deal with COVID and the winter and a special election that takes place in January, February, March time to get ready.
Well, I think I can speak for the whole rest of the party to say how much we appreciate the fact that you're running, and how much we hope that you are able to get your message out, and that people will listen to it. I also hope that you get a little warm weather between now and 13th of April, so that you can get out and visit with people. If people are interested in finding out more about you, how can they contact you or look up your campaign or find out about your candidacy?
So if you go on Facebook, you can do a quick search for Stephen Hollenberg for New Hampshire Representative. They'll take you to my page there. You can also get a direct link to that page if you go to the American Solidarity Party main website. Either Google search American Solidarity Party or go to solidarity-party.org. And that will, and then mine and another candidate's campaigns are right there on the main page. You can click right on my picture. It'll take you right to my Facebook page. I respond to messages right away. I have a number of people message me every week, posting on my commenting on my posts, and I'm happy to discuss with anybody anything that they want to talk about. So feel free to come by and leave a comment.
Excellent. Is there anything else you would like to add?
I think one thing that I want to talk about is I believe one of the most critical situations facing our country, the most harmful to our country right now, isn't an issue of pro-life or pro-choice. It's not an issue of gun control or more guns or immigration or anti-immigration. I think the biggest crisis facing our country is this great division between our two parties. When I see people charging the Capitol building wearing shirts that say like Civil War, or like trying to start a civil war. I know it's a fringe group that was specifically trying to start a civil war, but when I see that happening, and then I see this hatred on both sides, thankfully being in the middle of the two parties, I've been able to maintain friends on both sides. They help keep me honest. They help question my beliefs and help adjust my pro-life attitude. But I see friends that are Republicans and I see friends that are Democrats with just pure hatred for the other party. Anybody who votes different than they do, they hate them. Even when I'm campaigning, walking around, if I give a platform issue that's more on the Republican side, like a pro-life, or if I give a Democrat issue that's more that's like pro-immigration, then I have people. I've literally had people when I'm at their house swearing to my face, yelling at me. I've had people on Facebook trying to bully me into not running. And I had one person send me a message calling me a demon because of my beliefs. Like, there's just this hatred. If people don't vote the way you do, there's people in this country that will just hate you for no other reason. And I think if that divide continues to get deeper as it has over the last 4 years, then it could tear our country apart. And so for me, I want to bring those parties together. I want to bring the best of both parties, find a way to work together, find common ground for the common good of New Hampshire. And I think it's a critical situation that we need to stop the hatred. We need to start listening. We need to start setting aside our bias, taking a moment to listen, dialogue peacefully, without name calling, without this animosity between the parties. Have a good dialogue so that we can actually work together and move forward toward bringing life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness to everyone in our country. especially in New Hampshire and especially in Merrimack.
Excellent. And your analysis is very similar to mine. And we do appreciate very much that you are running and wish you the best of luck. Actually, I'm not big on luck. I'm big on my faith that God is in control. And we will be supporting your candidacy any way we can. And thank you very much for spending this time with me.
Thank you very much, Brian. It's been a pleasure.